You could have all the talent in the world, but what separates you from the legends of the game goes beyond just latent ability. In this video, I'll show you two players who had world-class ability, but refused to change their ways and thus didn't reach their full latent potential. Nicolas Anelka. I don't think there's anyone more fitting of being the epitome of controversy. As the years go by, you really can't forget the name Nicolas Anelka. Fans will probably remember him mostly from his time at Chelsea, which was arguably the most successful period of his career. It also offered the most stability in his career, but don't forget, Anelka played for 7 clubs before eventually joining the Blues, and 12 in his entire career. Let's get one thing clear, Anelka was very successful. He was a 2-time Premier League champion, 2-time FA Cup winner with both Arsenal and Chelsea. He was a Premier League Golden Boot winner. I mean, this guy left a mark on damn near every team he played for, even though some of those marks might have been a little shitty. Truth be told, I feel like you either loved Anelka or you absolutely hated the guy. Because let's be real, he was egotistical and often put himself before his team. But regardless, you couldn't for 1 second deny his talent and his potential. Now, Anelka had a burning passion for football and was a level above his mates at a young age. The opportunity to showcase his hunger and talent presented itself through the renowned French youth academy Clairefontaine, who have produced other world-class talents such as Thierry Henry and Kylian Mbappe. Thierry Henry himself even acknowledged that Anelka was the most talented player during their time at the academy. Upon graduation from Clairefontaine, a 15-year-old Anelka was signed by PSG in 1995. He broke through the youth ranks in Paris with serious force, making a lasting impression on former PSG player and head coach Luis Fernandez. In this modern era, players like Lamine Yamal are doing the same thing to devastating effect, and that's why you can't forget about Anelka. He was able to break into PSG's first team so young back then in a completely different era of football, where certain clubs wouldn't think twice about loaning out youth prospects to gain experience. After gaining valuable knowledge and training from the legendary Ballon d'Or winner George Weah, Anelka's rapid rise led Fernandez to give him his first full team debut at just 16 in 1995. And in 1996, Anelka scored his first professional goal as a substitute in a 4-0 thumping of Lens. That would be his only goal in his first stint with the club, which shows that stats really aren't everything. Anelka passed the eye test, giving a lot of clubs in Europe something to think about. Anelka was sharp, rapid, and could finish like there was no tomorrow, but he wasn't playing often. He couldn't get more than 45 minutes to show that he could hang with the big boys. So in swoops Arsenal legend Arsene Wenger, who felt that a 17-year-old Anelka was ready to make the switch to the Premier League. The move itself became more of a talking point than Anelka's talent, because of French regulations that restricted French players from freely moving to other European clubs. UEFA had to settle the legal troubles surrounding the move, and while Anelka wasn't the first to benefit from the Bosman ruling, his move to Arsenal came as a breath of fresh air. Anelka was limited to substitute appearances when he first joined the club, as he was still adjusting to living in England and the physicality of the Premier League, but his talent couldn't be subdued. On the last day of the season, Anelka would get his first assist for the club in a 3-1 victory away at Derby County. According to Anelka, he almost stopped himself from being in the match, but Wenger told him to apply himself, and he did. In his first full season with the club, Anelka was a key figure at Arsenal, finishing with 12 goal contributions in 25 Premier League matches. That year, Arsenal did the double, winning the Premier League and FA Cup. Anelka was so good that his strike partner and Arsenal legend Ian Wright knew that he probably didn't have much time left in the starting 11. Initially, Anelka was well received by the fans because of his electric pace, great agility on the ball, silky feet, and of course his lethal finishing. In his second full season with the club, he nearly tripled his goals in the Premier League, scoring 17 in 34 matches, helping Arsenal to second place behind the infamous treble-winning Manchester United side. Everything was set up for him to be an Arsenal icon. Well, until he won it out. Anelka had claimed to be unsettled living in London and pushed for a move to Real Madrid. In his own words, it was time for him to join a better club. Ouch. While his teammates became disgruntled with the controversy surrounding him, Wenger defended the striker, who was given the nickname Le Sulk. Wenger believed that his brothers, who were also his agents, were negatively influencing his decision-making, because he was a regular starter for Arsenal in all competitions. The prospect of earning more money in Spain seemed more appealing to Anelka than embedding himself in the folklore of Arsenal's history, because he felt that no matter what he did, it would never be enough for the English media. Even so, his move paved the way for Thierry Henry to join the Gunners, and we all know how that turned out. Anelka completed the switch to the Spanish capital as Real Madrid paid a then world record fee of £22.3 million, but unfortunately Anelka folded under the pressure of playing for Los Blancos. His debut for Madrid was one to forget, but the media wouldn't let him forget. He wouldn't score a goal until 5 months after he signed, and he only managed 7 goals in all competitions for Madrid, a terrible return for such a talented and expensive player. Although he did score against Barcelona in La Liga, that was one of his only 2 goals he scored in the league that year. He blamed the media for their constant intrusion into his life, and Anelka admitted he just couldn't settle in at Madrid. Even in his nightmare season though, he still earned his first major European trophy. He started in a 3-0 Champions League final victory over Valencia. Anelka stayed 1 year in Madrid before leaving for the club where he started his career. PSG paid £22 million for Anelka, but this time Anelka fell out with head coach Luis Fernandez, who was also in his second stint at the club, as PSG finished 9th that season, with Anelka only scoring 8 league goals. His second year at PSG was even worse, so Anelka decided to go back to England to rejuvenate his game, this time with Liverpool on loan to finish out the remainder of the season. Anelka was decent as he slotted into a Liverpool team that went on to finish 2nd in the league that year. Anelka wanted to make the move permanent, but Gerard Houllier opted to go with another route with El Hadji Diouf. Remember him? While Liverpool didn't fancy Anelka, newly promoted Manchester City paid £13 million to permanently bring him back to England. He would go on to score 14 goals in the league that season, scoring against the top teams in the division. His second season at City was better, scoring 16 goals in the Premier League, but City was abysmal and they finished 16th place. Because of this, Anelka didn't feel like he was challenging himself enough, or at least so. So despite never having issues with his teammates or the fans, he just couldn't stay there. After guiding Fenerbahce to a Super League title, Anelka signed for Bolton Wanderers. Initially playing under Sam Allardyce, Anelka admitted that his time at Bolton was great, where he enjoyed playing alongside El Hadji Diouf and other French players. Anelka was criminally underrated for Bolton, leading the team in goals and guiding them to a 7th place finish in his first season at the club. He still showed great pace in behind, and his composure in front of goal had never left. The following season, they would drop down 9 spots to 16th, even though Anelka still managed to reach double-digit goals for the Trotters. Anelka's fine form for Bolton was enough to convince Chelsea to splash the cash in January. A £15 million move would net Bolton a £7 million profit, and would see Anelka join a very strong Chelsea side. He would infamously go on to miss the decisive penalty in the Champions League final versus Manchester United. But he redeemed himself in his first full season with the Blues, as he netted 19 times in the league, beating out Cristiano Ronaldo and Steven Gerrard to the Golden Boot race. That year, Chelsea did win the FA Cup, and in his second season, they did the English double, his second of his career. His partnership with Didier Drogba was so good. He wasn't just scoring, he was also playmaking, but his finishing was so lethal it made them difficult to contain. The following season, Chelsea would sign Fernando Torres from Liverpool, and the gradual emergence of a young Daniel Sturridge would see Anelka's playing time dwindle. He ultimately left for China to play for Shanghai Shenhua, but after an unsuccessful stint there, his career was already on the decline. Anelka was an excellent footballer, but I don't think it's unfair to say he could have been better. Despite winning at the highest level in club football, his career was still overshadowed by inconsistencies and controversy, and who knows what would have happened if he stayed longer with Arsenal and played alongside Thierry Henry. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Adel Taarabt. You really had to be there to truly understand the essence of a player like Taarabt. At one point, his technical ability was being compared to French legend Zinedine Zidane. Taarabt was a player who could create something out of nothing, and is easily one of the best dribblers the Barclays Premier League, if not this generation, has ever seen. His talent alone should have propelled him to the very peak of the footballing pecking order, but you don't get there on talent alone. Starting with his transfer to Tottenham Hotspur in 2007, Spurs invested in Taarabt as one for the future. His move to Tottenham was not successful, even though he did show hints of absolute brilliance. That season, after the sacking of Martin Jol, the almost authoritarian Spanish manager Juan de Ramos would eventually guide Spurs to a Carling Cup trophy, but Taarabt would barely see the pitch during this time. The following season, after Spurs' worst ever start to a Premier League campaign, Taarabt would get banned from training with the first team squad alongside players like Kevin Prince Boateng. This would be the first but not the last time in Taarabt's career where a manager faulted his efforts on the training pitch and refused to involve him in the first team. Harry Redknapp would eventually replace Ramos at the helm, but only gave Taarabt one Premier League appearance that whole season. Fast forward a couple of years, and Taarabt would permanently sign for Queen's Park Rangers in 2010 after 2 initial loan stints with the club, where he gave Rangers a glimpse of what he's truly capable of. Taarabt was being labeled as a genius, and perhaps that got to his head a bit. He wasn't a fan of the style of football being played in the Championship, being quoted as saying that, "I look at teams like Bolton, Stoke, or Wolves and say, there's just no point for me. I hope to be playing for one of the top 4 in Spain next season. I have contact with good teams, and I know they want me." No such move ever materialized, and instead of leaving QPR that season, Taarabt set the Championship on fire. In 44 matches, his unbelievable 19 goals and 15 assists saw QPR achieve promotion to the Promised Land, the Barclays Premier League. His trickery and finishing that season were on another level, and Taarabt was scoring goals that only the best could replicate. He was eventually recognized as the Championship Player of the Year, all while captaining his side to glory. Again, he tried to initiate a move away from England, with teams like PSG and Barcelona sniffing around, but the Premier League was the next challenge for the Moroccan. Controversially, Taarabt was stripped of the captain's armband by Neil Warnock, who favored the grittiness and leadership of Joey Barton. Yeah, that guy. Initially, Taarabt struggled to adapt to the step-up in competition, and his relationship with his manager was deteriorating. It was made much worse when he was substituted off at halftime during a 6-0 drubbing away to local rivals Fulham. After a spineless performance, Taarabt would end up leaving the stadium altogether after getting into it with his manager, stirring annoyance amongst the fans. But a mid-season turnaround saw him return to decent form, albeit still showing his standout ability against the league's biggest clubs. But it was clear that Neil Warnock and his QPR side were simply out of their depth, barely surviving the drop and handing Manchester City their first Premier League title, okay, whatever. Taarabt was given a new contract, which was signed alongside his former and now current manager Harry Redknapp, who had taken over for Neil Warnock the following season. This rejuvenated Taarabt as he occasionally delivered world-class performances, with the most breathtaking being his goal versus Fulham, which to this day is still so aesthetically pleasing to watch. The problem was QPR could barely win a game, and ended the season finishing rock bottom of the league. If you thought Taarabt could try to force his way out of the club after getting promoted, you already know he tried to do the same thing when they were going to get relegated. A loan move to Fulham was on the cards, but even then he was used sparingly. After just 5 months at Craven Cottage, Taarabt swapped the streets of London for the streets of Milan. Under Clarence Seedorf, Milan could only muster an 8th place finish that season, and with luxury players like Mario Balotelli and Robinho, there really wasn't a place for Taarabt at the San Siro. And neither was there a place for him at QPR under Harry Redknapp. The British manager refused to play Taarabt and delivered one of the craziest press conference responses to date.
No, he's not fit. He's not fit to play football, unfortunately. He played in a reserve game the other day, and I could have run about more than he did.
Taarabt bounced back and claimed that Redknapp was making excuses, and that Redknapp was never even there at training. All this would culminate in the mutual termination of his contract in 2015, where soon he would find himself biding his trade in Lisbon. A move to Benfica was supposed to restart his career and give Taarabt another chance to showcase his awesome ability. Unfortunately, a similar tale had been told from then Benfica president Luis Felipe Vieira, who had said, "We watched and rewatched his games, but there are things lacking. He arrived with 6 extra pounds. He certainly won't wear the Benfica shirt again." Now, Taarabt would spend the next 4 years in Benfica's reserves, before being reinvented as a tenacious defensive midfielder under Bruno Lage. He made his full Benfica debut a whole 4 years after he signed for the club in 2019. But he actually played well in this new role. The thing is, this wasn't the same Taarabt we grew up watching. The same guy who was instrumental in attack for QPR and had the potential to be one of the very best. Simply put, his application to the game didn't match his talent, or in better terms, he wasn't disciplined. Everywhere he went, he was perceived this way, and for that, he definitely will go down as a player who refused to reach his potential. Thank you guys so much for watching this video as always, and thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers, for 50K views. I mean, you guys have blown my mind with all of this. I am so just grateful and thankful for every one of your support. And even people who don't agree with my opinions, I'm grateful that you comment and leave, constructive criticism and feedback, because it helps me get better. It helps us to become a community. I want it to be a situation where we can just discuss things amongst each other, not be toxic, because I don't like negativity. I want us to be positive and look forward to what we're gonna see this upcoming season. But if you guys want to see more videos like this, let me know. There were a couple players that I kind of excluded from this video because I really don't want to be clickbaity. And I don't want to be, one of those guys where it's like, oh my gosh, what is this guy doing? I want to make sure I'm making the correct video and making good content for you guys to watch. So let me know who you want to see next, and let me know what type of video ideas you guys want to see. I'm willing to do anything you want. As always, God bless. Have a wonderful day.